Hello there, and thank you very much for opening up this video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is James Bond. I'm a health and fitness expert based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm commenting about the world concern and considerable media coverage about the burning of the Amazon rainforest, which has gone mental in the last few days. Now, let me explain the situation in something that you can understand. I'm going to explain how the situation has arisen. I'm also going to explain what you can do about it, okay? Because there are a couple of things that you can do today very easily that won't put you in any danger whatsoever, okay? But let me explain these things in something in terms you can understand. I want you to imagine it's Christmas, okay? And let me imagine you've got to buy a whole load of presents for your friends and your family and whatever. You've got Christmas parties and all these sort of things. It's a very expensive time of year. Now, your salary may not be enough to cover that huge level of expenses. So what may happen? You might ask your bank for an overdraft. You might take up a credit card. You might take out one of these terrible payday loans, okay? Now, these payday loans and these credit cards tend to have extortionate levels of interest, and what happens is a lot of people around about Christmas spend all that money. They've got no money in January and they're waiting till payday at the end of the month. Well, what happens if the level of pay you get doesn't cover the minimum payments? You go into default, and then they add more and more interest on, and at some stage they actually may change their terms and conditions and basically raise the interest rate, okay, which they can sometimes do. And very commonly what actually tends to happen is that people don't pay off their debts until September or October, by which time the Christmas debt trap starts again. Now, to make matters worse, what actually happens is, as time goes on, increasing amounts of your salary is spent actually paying off these debts. And what actually happens is, if you lose your job or you have a fall in income, it makes matters a lot worse. So you have to take on additional jobs or things such as this to pay off your debts. Well, that is precisely what has happened to Brazil. I'm now looking at a web page from the World Bank, and I'm looking at the level of foreign debt that Brazil and many other developing countries have to pay. And in Brazil's case, it is in the trillions of dollars. Okay, now we in the UK are leaving the European Union on the 31st of October. Now, what actually happens is, because we're leaving, we don't have to pay our £50 million a day membership to the EU. Now, think about it. The 50 million we pay per day to the EU is nothing compared to what the Brazilians have to pay in these foreign debt payments. Okay, nothing whatsoever. In excess of 1/5 of their income goes on repaying these loans, and they've paid off the capital many times over. Now, what the British government needs to do, and all Western governments for that matter, is simply write off these debts. Okay, they've been paid off many times over. Okay, and these debts are crippling the economies of these countries, okay, which leaves them with no choice but to cause massive deforestation, to basically expand certain agricultural industries so that they can pay them off. So these sanctions, which are brought about by the German government and the various people for this, well, in terms of economics, they won't do much good, and I'll tell you about what we can do about that in a minute. So if you think about it logically, the Brazilian government have got no choice but to do this, okay? Because they're going to turn around and say, well, we've got to pay off our debt, we've got to feed our people. In exactly the same way, if you had enormous levels of debt, then you may have to take on other methods of a second job. You may even have to take on illegal sources of income or unethical sources of income in order to pay off your debts and feed your kids. It's basically that simple. Okay, so what can we do? Number one, we need to lobby our politicians to basically write off these debts, not just pass on the debt to another person. That doesn't do them any good. That is basically like me having a credit card debt of £10,000 and then transferring the balance off to another credit card company. I still owe that £10,000. The second lender may actually charge a little bit less interest, but I still owe the £10,000. Okay, so it doesn't do that much good. So that's why these debt consolidation services may not, passing the debt from one credit card company to the next is not a good thing to do. Okay, that's the first thing. So we need to lobby our politicians just basically to write them off. Don't pass the debt on to another company, just basically write them off. Number two, we need to basically do our bit to make sure that the Brazilians have a healthy economy. And there's something that you can do today that doesn't put you at any risk whatsoever to basically help their economy grow. And that's this. These are Brazil nuts. Okay. All you need to do, somewhere in your local community, there is a greengrocer. Okay. Take a £5 note. Okay. And just say to that greengrocer, can you supply me with £5 worth of Brazil nuts? Simple as. Okay. Now the thing here is these Brazil nuts don't grow anywhere but the rainforest. So what happens is and they can't cut down trees because of it, because they actually need their natural environment to grow. So basically what we do, let's all buy a packet a week of Brazil nuts. Okay. Now if we buy these, and my favorite supplier, Bond's Confectionery, I would say that because the 007. But if you think about it logically, if we can all buy these Brazil nuts, we can basically increase the demand so much that the Brazilians will say, well, we can't cut down our rainforest because people want these nuts so much. Okay, we can help boost their economy with very little risk to ourselves. Okay, and secondly, if we can get our own governments to write off these debts, it will do enormous good. Okay, writing off the debts that these countries owe to Western governments will be the biggest humanitarian thing we could ever do. Now, the second thing that we can all do. Okay, the Brazilians have to cut down the rainforests or burn them down for the simple reason they need to make land available because the Western demand for meat. Okay, so there's one thing that we can all do to improve our health, our wealth, and the environment. Okay, it doesn't put you at any risk whatsoever. Okay, and that is basically to turn vegetarian or preferably vegan. Now I'm a fitness instructor. Okay, I'm a personal trainer, and my main focus is that I live stream fitness classes across the internet from my studio into people's living rooms. Now I do them at 9 p.m. at night when the kids are in bed, and I have put a link to the program below. But that aside for a moment, I encourage all my fat loss clients to go vegetarian or preferably vegan. I can't make them, but I advise them. Those that do, all without fail, report a very safe, very rapid loss of excess body fat with a massive improvement in health and energy. It is quite common for me to get a telephone call from their doctor saying, what have you done with my patient? And they've said that in a good way. I said, what do you mean? They said, the blood pressure's gone down, the body fat has gone down, the cholesterol's gone down, the blood sugar's gone down, the respiratory function's improved. What have you done? I just tell them I put them on a good fitness program and I've got them to go vegetarian. And the doctor says, well, thank you very much. You've made my job a lot easier. The reason being, in the land and resources it takes to feed one meat eater, you can feed 15 or so vegetarians at least, because the majority of the world's grain and vegetables goes to feed cattle, not humans. Okay. Now think about it, if we all went vegetarian, the demand for meat goes down enormously. Okay, and on top of that we save tons upon tons upon tons of resources. It's basically that simple. Now, why is it good for your health? Every time you eat meat, you are exposing yourself to animal fat. You're directly taking animal fat into you. Okay, there's no way around that. On top of that, you're exposing yourself to DASH, which stands for any diseases that animal may have had. Okay. Now, the thing is, one of the primary places that primary way cancer spread is through the bloodstream. Secondly, they can always go to the bone, brain, adrenals, liver, and lungs. So if you have liver from an animal and that liver contains any cancer, you're taking in. You're directly exposing yourself to cancer. Okay. Number two, any drugs. Okay. If that animal was on any drugs, you're exposing yourself to those drugs. Okay, and getting the side effects. Any antibiotics, any steroids, or any hormones. These steroids and hormones are designed to make animals grow. Okay, so if you're taking them in, that's exactly what you're taking in. Now the thing here is, I have often wondered, is that the reason why women who eat meat are exposing have increased risk of breast lumps, fibroids, uterine cysts, ovarian cysts, okay, and all sorts of things. Is that the reason? Is it a part of the reason? We don't know. But if you're a vegetarian, your risk of getting such things is much, much lower. Okay, it's that simple. Now, how to put this? So turning vegetarian is great for your health. Okay, I've mentioned that it's good for the environment. Turning vegetarian is the most safest, the most affordable, it's the fastest and the most environmentally safe method of losing excess body fat. Okay, and I mentioned the wealth. Meat is expensive. You can't deny that. It's very, very expensive. So by turning vegetarian, you can do wonders. Okay, so a couple of things that you can do today that will help save the rainforest. Number one, get some Brazil nuts. Get a packet a week. Okay, if we all do that, they've got to keep the rainforests alive. Okay, because basically they need them to grow. Let's buy a pack or two of these a week. Let's increase the demand so much that the Brazilian government think, hey, we've got to keep our rainforests alive. Okay, number two, turn vegetarian. Okay, number three, you might want to consider going on holiday to a safari at the Brazilian rainforest. But if you're going to do that, please remember a few things. Take nothing but photographs. Leave nothing but footprints. Don't take anything there. Just do that. Nothing but footprints. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but photographs. And the other thing is, from a humanitarian point of view, we need to lobby our own governments to write off the debt that is owed by these countries. Don't pass the debt on from one credit card company to the next. They need to be written off. It'll be the best humanitarian thing that we can ever do. Thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. Please look at the link in description below. I've put some resources where you can take action today. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Bond, James Bond, leaving you shaken but not stirred. Bye bye.